The reviews are in, and we're going to tell you what they are. He's Todd Vandenberg, I'm Rob Steele, and she's sitting to the next to me. And yeah, I'm not going to introduce her until it's time for her to say her part. So there. That's right, we have a guest in the studio and everything. Stop hitting me. Anyway, I know we've been gone for a couple of weeks, but, some stuff has come out since then. We were giving it time to come out and percolate and see how they would do. And turns out a couple of them have been really good. So we're going to talk about new movies. What a concept, right? Let's start with one that I think both of us were looking forward to a lot on this list, although we were kind of hesitant about it. Is it going to be, it's got the cast, is it going to be as good as, let's say, Clue, which is kind of vaguely what it looks like. But is it Clue-ish?
It is Clue-ish in appearances only. We're talking about Knives Out, which is the comedy crime film. It's listed on IMDb as comedy crime drama. It's like ain't a whole lot of drama to it, which is a good thing. It is very, very funny, and it is very, very crimey. Is that a word? It is now. Great cast, like you said. Chris Evans is a supporting character, which is cool. Basically, everyone in this movie is a supporting character because it's an ensemble piece. It's written and directed by Rian Johnson, who is quite a talented person. That's assuming you ignore The Last Jedi, but that's not really his fault. But he directed Brick, which is an awesome, interestingly enough, crime caper comedy set in high school way back when. It came out in 2005. Excellent. Probably no one has seen it except me, but it's excellent. And Looper. And you guys probably have heard of Looper. Also another fine film. This, I think, is his best movie yet. Extremely funny. The setup is a gentleman who's a writer, a world-renowned mystery writer, is dead. And they're not sure why. They're not sure if he committed suicide or if he was murdered. What you don't get from the previews and trailers, which makes it look very much like Clue, and it's a whodunit, it's not so much a whodunit because you see whodunit after about the first quarter of the movie. But then you're not really sure if the person whodunit really did it and what they really did, which is where all the fun begins. Again, the cast, Toni Collette, Jamie Lee Curtis, Don Johnson, Michael Shannon, Daniel Craig. Daniel Craig doing an excellent character, just as an example of what his character is like. And the writing in this is Chris Evans comes into the piece later on. He's just a part of this large family. And Daniel Craig he's an investigator with a Southern accent. He says something, Chris Evans walks in and says, "What is this, CSI KFC?" Which, that's not exactly going to spoil the movie for you, but I thought that was an extremely excellent line, and it tells you how Daniel Craig plays his character. And I'm not going to spoil the movie by going into any more than what I've already said. But the performances are just, every one of them is absolutely spot on. Nobody takes center stage more than anybody else. Man, this is just such a fun movie. It's exactly as fun as I was hoping. And I was hoping for a lot based on those trailers because the trailers just look terrific. And it is exactly what I was hoping for. I do want to mention one person in particular, though. Ana de Armas plays, if there is a lead, she's the lead because she's the caretaker for the writer, Christopher Plummer, who dies. And so she is helping Daniel Craig figure out what's going on, even though she's involved in the whole thing because he trusts her, because that's just how it's done. It's not that she's better than anybody else, but she's not as well known as anyone else. And she absolutely holds her own. The only thing people might remember her from is Blade Runner 2049, as you like to put it. She was Joy. She was the girlfriend / AI, which is an interesting concept in itself. In Blade Runner 2049, she's excellent in this film, as is everybody else. Extremely funny. You think you know what's going on. After a while, you realize you don't know what's going on. I usually don't try to figure things out. This one I did, and yay, I actually did figure out what was going on about halfway through the movie. And I was right, which was like, hey, I was happy about that. It still had some fun little twists. So even if you're one of those people who tries to figure out the mystery and you do figure it out halfway through, it's not going to spoil it for you. This is a super fun, entertaining, just weird movie in all the best ways. It's not that much like Clue, which was part of the surprise, because you think that's what it is, Turns out that's not what it is at all. But awesome movie about all the weird relationships of this really bizarre family. Not quite Addams Family level, but yeah, close enough. Knives Out, excellent movie, highly recommended.
So not Clue, but still excellent. So
absolutely,
that's a good thing.
A very good thing.
We'll give it 7 thumbs up or something like that. It's not even 7 thumbs up in the room, and there's 3 of us. That's right. I brought in someone extra because, we've been gone for 3 weeks, and I still didn't see anything. My daughter did, though. She went to see the other top movie that came out over the Thanksgiving holiday, Frozen 2. So I'm going to bring in, this is Myndi, everybody. Everybody, Myndi, everybody. Mm. What did you think of Frozen 2?
I liked it, but I'm a bit biased. But, overall, I think it was a very beautiful film. It was definitely, obviously, the animation was better than the first one and whatnot with that. And the songs were beautiful. Some of the artists I wasn't expecting to be in Frozen 2, i.e. the song by Weezer.
Weezer doesn't sound like someone who would be in a Frozen movie.
That's interesting.
There was a section where it fit with the kind of music they do, and where the movie takes a little turn with some characters into some personally very cringy territory. But that's just because I wasn't around when that music was popular.
You said it was 80s music?
80s music video style stuff.
And there was the Bohemian Rhapsody thing?
There was references to Bohemian Rhapsody, to those dual dissolves that I never liked but were really popular. But the animation did them really well because they looked too real, which made it even more cringy. But
because it's the dude. If I understood this correctly, Gustav is singing, and like all the reindeer are the rest of Queen.
Yes.
Wow.
I think it might be worth seeing just to see what the hell this means.
Overall, I think with the story, it is very similar to Frozen 1 in its overarching issues, because there's, obviously I don't want to go too in-depth and give away everything. There's not a lot of necessarily twists, but there's a lot of things that you've seen in other movies that kind of get put in here, and it does work. But any flaws that I can find in the story are definitely redeemed with the animation and the music, just because it's such a beautiful film, and they animate anything from what you saw in the trailer to her hair getting let down, to the water horse you see in the trailer, to pretty much any of the spirits you see throughout the movie are just beautifully animated, and they overall seemingly spared no expense with the animation, much less the music. It has everything from classical to more teen-driven, to obviously the 80s renditions of things. And they have covers from like Weezer, from Panic at the Disco for the Let It Go of Frozen 2, which was still sung by Idina Menzel in the movie. So they have the 2-hour. There's a lot of power ballads and anthem songs, ranging from there's a lot of songs that definitely could be taken as anthems for things like anything from the LGBTQ plus community, the letter community.
Is it the alphabet community? I know that we're probably not supposed to call it that, but I probably will until they finalize their acronym. We love all of you. We really do. Just finalize your acronym so we know what to call you.
Myndi, I have a quick question for you. Would this film have been better if Wes Craven had directed it?
That's bias.
I doubt it.
Definitely could have brought to it with it. It delves into its own little horror segment on its own, and obviously not to my degree. But I mean, it's still it was aimed towards kids, but teens could watch it just fine and laugh as much as they wanted, and adults could even watch it, because there were still a lot of adult-oriented jokes that weren't, ass humor. Like, it was still, again, with the 80s section, all the adults got the Queen references, and you could hear Weezer a little bit in the song, and you're just like, I wasn't expecting that, but it works for what they're doing. And, there's in the trailer, you pretty much, I don't want to say you see everything in the trailer, but they obviously, showed off what they could in the trailer, and it makes a bigger, better appearance in the movie.
So definitely,
Cool.
I would say, would you go see it again? But I know you've seen it twice
Yeah,
already.
I've seen it twice already.
Wow. Well, that's a recommendation right there.
So apparently, go see Frozen 2, which is, of course, Disney and Pixar. And Disney, well, since we did our last show, Disney has started its own network, the big bad Disney Plus, which what's the first thing you hear about it? Oh, there's glitches and flaws. Okay, they just started the network. Of course, there's glitches and flaws. You know what? They also got fixed pretty quick. But I don't know. Disney Plus, is Disney Plus worth it? For me, yeah, just on The Mandalorian.
Shocker.
Which, if you haven't seen The Mandalorian, you have. See? That's just weird, isn't it? The Baby Yoda thing. All I'm telling you is that's where this comes from. Everyone's seen that by now. It's adorable. No one was expecting it. And I'm not giving away any kind of spoiler at this point. It's been out a month. If you haven't seen it, that's your own fault. But yeah, I think that the Mandalorian, it looks like it belongs in the Star Wars universe. The special effects for it, a lot of them, and I love this, are practical effects.
Yep.
Not a whole lot of CG going on, even though each show still costs, what is it, like $12 million for every 30-minute episode? Which,
I have
which
no
is a
idea,
bit
but it looks
expensive.
like it.
I did catch one thing that I think a lot of people missed because they weren't around for it in the first time. Jon Favreau, who's directing all this, says he's contemplating doing a second Star Wars holiday special. And I know a lot of you have just gone, there's a holiday special for Star Wars? Yeah, George Lucas disowned it, and somewhat rightfully so. It aired on CBS back in, 78, 79?
Something like that, yeah.
Somewhere in there. You can find it on YouTube. And even though it's on CBS, it still stars Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher and B. Arthur. One of these things just doesn't belong here. But he already laid the groundwork for it. If you catch this in episode 2, like I said, it's the Star Wars Holiday Special, which in Star Wars universe is called Life Day. Life Day is mentioned in episode 2 of The Mandalorian. And of course, the big thing that came out of the Star Wars Holiday Special was Boba Fett, the original Mandalorian that we see in the series.
Do you think he would do it correctly, or would Favreau make it intentionally cheesy?
Honestly, I have no idea.
It could work either way.
It could.
And I can see him going either way. As
long as he doesn't make it too McClunky, we'll be fine.
As far as The Mandalorian goes, yeah, I really like it. It's not quite at the level of the first couple of Star Wars films for me, but that would be incredible. I think it's a lot better than anything we've had since the first 2 Star Wars movies, which is saying a lot because they put out a lot, and I'm not including the animated stuff, but they haven't really hit many high notes for me in about, 30 years. So yeah, The Mandalorian is really good. I don't think it's great, but it's really, really good. And I get the feeling that it's building because I really liked the first episode. The second one was good. Third one was better. Fourth one I thought was the best one yet. And did you notice that Bryce Dallas Howard directed the 4th episode? I thought that was really cool.
Actually, I did not notice that. I haven't gotten to that one yet.
Oh,
darn you! So Thanksgiving travel.
Well, you'll enjoy it because it's good. And I thought, who knows? Maybe she'll become a competent, occasionally excellent director like her dad, which would be kind of interesting. But yeah, I really like The Mandalorian. Disney Plus. I was talking about this with my daughter just the other day. I kind of wonder if they didn't launch it too soon. And I understand they had to because NBC is coming out with Peacock next year. Warner's is coming out with it. I mean, I get it that they had to get out there before the market gets even more diluted. And at the price point, it's a no-brainer. I mean, it's like a cup of coffee at Starbucks, for gosh sakes. But I'm already at the point where the content is getting kind of sparse. Mandalorian is once a week.
Right.
Jeff Goldblum, the documentary, The World According to, I believe it's The World According to Jeff Goldblum. Hilarious, awesome show. It's once a week. I'm not going to watch.
There is more stuff coming.
Yeah, and that's the problem. There's more
coming.
stuff coming, and it's coming in 2020 and 2021, and
Yeah.
they don't have the huge library that Netflix has. Obviously, that's their big competition, or Amazon Prime Video, for that matter. The library they have is excellent, no doubt about that.
Well, the library they have out is also the library I have in my living room on discs.
True. They don't have every Marvel MCU movie yet because of prior commitments. So they're getting Endgame. I think they're getting Endgame this month. So there's a few things they don't have yet as far as that goes. But I'm already at the point where, not that it's worth canceling, because like I said, it's $7. That's ridiculous to cancel.
Yeah.
Because what they have coming out even now is worth keeping. But if it was 14 or 15, honestly, at this point, I think I would just cancel and then renew when the big hitters, for me, the Marvel Universe shows come out. But I hope they start adding more material. I mean, they own Fox. There are literally thousands of Fox movies that they can add. I don't know, maybe, and here comes your segue, maybe they could add Song of the South and finally get it out of the vault.
Yeah, that is something that they did for a lot of these older movies. There's a warning before you start them. This movie may contain racial stereotypes because this movie's old and we're not going to bother editing it. Which is just kind of weird, but I can see where it makes sense, because at the time when the movies came out, I don't know if a fuss was made about them because I wasn't around then. Some of these came out long before Todd was around. And, we don't know the big fuss that was made then, if there was any. But there is now. So they're giving you the racial stereotype warning about, like, what the crows in Dumbo are a big thing, apparently. And actually, I want to throw this in, even though it's not Disney related. I'll get back to Disney in a minute. Did you hear about the Harriet Tubman biopic?
Yes.
And who they wanted to have cast as Harriet Tubman?
Yes.
Did you hear why? If you haven't heard,
I did not hear why, but yeah, pass this on to our listeners.
Yeah, there's a Harriet Tubman biopic.
Listen, Ted.
For those of you who don't remember Harriet Tubman, that's exactly what they thought was going to happen. Harriet Tubman, of course, the African-American woman who freed a lot of slaves way back when, during the Civil War and all that. And there was an executive who said, you know who I want to play Harriet Tubman? Julia Roberts. And everyone else at the table kind of went, I'm sorry, what? Who? Are you sure? Now, the quote that came out of this as of yet unnamed executive was, well, Harriet Tubman happened so long ago, no one's going to remember that she was black. Except everyone.
Except everyone. Yeah.
Really? Really? I mean, I think I'm laughing at it. I think
you would hope they fired this idiot, but they're probably running their own studio at this point. I was really looking forward to this movie until I read some of the early reviews, and for some reason they did something to me worse than casting Julia Roberts as Harriet Tubman. The big bad in this film is an African-American bounty hunter who is after her, a character that did not exist from any known historical records. And why on earth would you choose to make the villain in a movie about Harriet Tubman a black person? Understandably, a lot of people are not too thrilled about that. About as thrilled as they would have been if Julia Roberts had played Harriet Tubman. So, yeah, I don't really want to even see any part of this movie because that's not really who the villain was. So,
yeah,
I mean, my God, how completely awful and stupid could these producers have been? And it's hard to understand what the hell they were thinking.
Well, Disney, yeah, we're going to go back.
Yes, please.
Disney has been doing a lot of thinking, and they're doing something that Netflix should have done with Disney. A lot of these Marvel shows that are coming up, WandaVision, they've already been in the movies. Loki has already been in the movies. Characters who haven't been in the movies yet, like the upcoming Moon Knight show or She-Hulk, all of them have been announced to be appearing in the movies after their Disney Plus debut.
Yep.
Which I think is brilliant. They've already, it's my understanding, they've already scripted the forthcoming Blade movie with the Maharaja of Ali playing Blade. No, I can't pronounce his name correctly, so I'm making him a king. They've already announced that Moon Knight is going to be in that movie, which I like the idea of. I think Moon Knight's a cool character anyway.
Moon Knight's a very cool character. And it'd be nice to see Moon Knight get some exposure. You mentioned WandaVision. I don't remember if we talked about this. I talked about this with some other folks. But the concept of WandaVision, that apparently it's going to be a hybrid of a 50s style sitcom, apparently almost set in the 50s or in that world.
That's the one that makes the least amount of sense to me.
Oh, I love it. Because I picture it as this is something Wanda has created so she can have vision, and this is an idealized picture of, the classic nuclear family, so she'll have that. And what says that more than in American culture than like the 50s sitcom, the I Love Lucy thing. But the cool thing is supposedly that part is going to be filmed before a live audience, just like the 50s sitcoms were.
Wow.
Which is
that I had not heard yet.
That, and now I don't know. I haven't seen that that's actually confirmed. The part about the 50s and then the bigger universe, the hybrid, that
I've seen so much about the 50s stuff in it. I think that's what it's going to be. But
yeah,
that's just
I don't know. I think that'll be amazing. I think absolutely it'll be amazing. Anyway, really, all of the shows will be. So another just wonderful thing to be looking forward to.
And that leads us into something else that frankly is kind of old, but it's related. Just like the star and the person he played in the movie. I don't know if you heard that part. I know you've seen the movie and know where I'm going with this. Because Todd got the opportunity to see A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, the Mr. Rogers movie starring Tom Hanks. And it came out, this information came out just after the movie that Tom Hanks found out after he filmed it that he's related to Mr. Rogers.
Which is crazy.
He says he did not know until after they were done filming. But I don't know. I think if you're going to get anyone to play Mr. Rogers, it kind of has to be Tom Hanks. But I haven't seen it, and you have. So how was A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood?
It to be corny, it was beautiful. Although, I could see Michael Shannon playing Mr. Rogers. I think it'd be interesting. Turns out to be psychotic and has bodies in the basement if it was Michael Shannon. Yeah, it is.
Directed by Wes Craven, of course.
Totally directed by Wes Craven. This is the best movie I've seen this year.
Really?
Just period. And we've talked about a lot of movies lately that we've liked a lot. This movie, no pun intended, however you want to take it, it is a beautiful movie. It opens up with recreations of the opening scene of the Mr. Rogers neighborhood. You're zooming in on the little, obviously fake little neighborhood. And the screen and the TV 4:3 aspect ratio. Anytime they're portraying the show, it's in that aspect ratio, which is, again, brilliant. When they're showing anything of Mr. Rogers, and of course it's all Tom Hanks in the film, when they're showing segments of the show, it's in that aspect ratio, and it's in low def, like TV was then. So the way it's filmed is brilliant, and it always makes these transitions back and forth between the real world and the neighborhood. There's not a lot of the neighborhood in it, but there is a terrific scene in it where the writer. Sorry, let me back up. This is based on a magazine article that came out in I believe the late 80s. That was a profile of Fred Rogers. Esquire magazine was doing a series of stories on heroes, American heroes, and they chose Mr. Rogers as one of the people to be profiled. And they went to one of their hotshot writers, a man named Tom Junod, he's renamed in the film, but apparently he had a bit of a reputation as being a muckraker, someone who would no holds barred, got to the truth, and something of a cynic. And now this part is probably fictionalized, but his editor, he was complaining because he was hired to do exposés, and why is he giving this? And she tells him, well, because I'm your boss, basically, and this is what I want you to do. And he goes, but why him? She's because of all the people we're profiling, he's the only one who agreed to talk to you. He's this hotshot investigative reporter who writes for Esquire, and his assignment is to write a 400-word profile. That's his assignment. 400 words. That's it.
Not much.
that is not much. When I saw that, I literally laughed out loud because we both write, and that's if things are flowing, that's like 15 minutes worth of work.
Not even.
And if you want to hone it and get it right, maybe you'll spend a half hour on it. 400 words. That was it.
I wrote 400 words rolling out of bed this morning.
And they were well written too.
Yes.
So it's hilarious that this is what he was assigned. It turns, and this is hardly a spoiler, but it turned into a 10,000 word article, which became the cover story. So it turned into something entirely different because he got this relationship with Fred Rogers, entirely due to Fred Rogers. From everything you've read of Mr. Rogers, and there was a brilliant documentary that came out earlier, Won't You Be My Neighbor, which, man, talk about an awesome double bill. You really need to watch both of these movies. Rogers was maybe a better person than what you think he was. Constantly looking for the best part of people, helping people heal. And there's a nice little quip in there from his wife, a person playing his wife, and just kind of, he says, what's it like to be married to a saint? And she just kind of laughs and says, oh, come on, he's not a saint. I mean, he has his moments and blah, blah, blah. He works at being a good person. So yeah, Tom Hanks is absolutely the right person to play this role because he's so believable as this person who wants to do nothing but help people. And he chooses this venue. He chooses children's show to do that. I will say the cast is excellent. Matthew Rhys plays the reporter. Chris Cooper, the go-to man in Hollywood and has been for like 30 years for being a difficult father. He plays his dad. He has a difficult relationship with his dad, not Fred Rogers, but the reporter. Cooper is excellent. Everybody is just extremely good, but just the way this is filmed is, again, I go back to the word beautiful, but it is. There's this amazing dream sequence that is set in the world. There are these many moments in the dialogue between the reporter and Fred Rogers that get to the heart of, not to be schmaltzy, but get to the heart of what it is to be human. And the best scene, there's a scene in the movie where there's literally no dialogue for 1 minute. And you'll just have to, I won't go into any more detail than that, but when you see it, you'll obviously know it, and it's just amazing. It's absolutely amazing. It's literally a fantastic movie. And yeah, for me, this is the best movie I've seen this year. And it's not only because Tom Hanks is great. I mean, it's Tom Hanks rolls out of bed and he's great. It's just the movie Sully, which I didn't care for at all because it was just, I saw it happen. I don't really need to see a movie about it that doesn't tell you anything different. He was great in that movie.
He made the Dragnet movie good.
He did make the Dragnet movie good, indeed. And he's been doing that forever. He is excellent, but everyone is excellent in this film. And the movie is just, it's an amazing movie. Marielle Heller, the director, she directed last year's Can You Ever Forgive Me? Which I still haven't seen yet, but that's one that Melissa McCarthy basically played a forger, and it's a drama and allegedly an excellent film. We got terrific reviews. She's directed that. She's directed a couple short films. That's it. So yeah, this is definitely going to be Ms. Heller's breakout film by far, because I can't imagine the studio in the world. It's like, hey, I'd like to make a movie about someone reading a phone book. It's like, you got it. How much money do you want? I mean, she should have an open ticket to anything after this film. This movie is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
So what you're saying is that the top two movies in the box office we reviewed at the beginning of the show pale in comparison to A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood.
Which is, I don't know if they pale in comparison, because I haven't seen Frozen 2, but I trust Myndi and it's really good. And I've heard that. Knives Out is really good. But this is the best movie. And it's doing fine at the box office. But yeah, it's not going to make Endgame money, obviously. But it's a better film than Endgame.
Not Endgame money. Wow.
And I think Endgame is an excellent film for what it is. I mean, we've talked about this a long time ago.
Yeah.
The how to judge a film, does it do what it set out to do? This movie absolutely does everything it sets out to do for every moment of the film.
Does that do I smell an Oscar coming out of this?
I cannot imagine that this movie. I can imagine it won't win, because the best movies don't always win.
Yeah.
But they might as well just stop the whole process if it's not nominated for Best Picture. And she's not nominated for Best Director. And Tom Hanks, I'm sure he'll be nominated. I almost wonder if he deserves it, because it's not, well, I guess he does, because he inhabits that character so well. He just disappears because he's not Tom Hanks, which some of his roles, he's Tom Hanks. Some of his roles, he's who he's supposed to be. He does what he's supposed to do for the film. So I imagine he'd be nominated. I can see him not winning, because there have been some terrific performances this year. But yeah, I would say they made a grave error if this does not win Best Picture. I mean, this movie's absolutely great. Absolutely great.
And that sounds like a great note to end the show on. So thanks for coming back, because I know it took us a while for us to come back. But we're here again. Ta-da. And we'll be back again next week with more movies, because that's what we do. In the meantime, something you should do, because we've given you some really great options, is get out and go see a movie.
Captain, we're losing power in the warp engines.
I think we should be leaving now.
I'm going to go home and sleep with my wife.
And on that unusually harmonious bombshell, it is time to end.
I am very disappointed!
Man, we have a weird job.
It's shameful, but, it's a living.
And like that, he's gone.
McConkey.